somehow right. That's all time. That's all time.
Derek Jeter is top 3 shortstop. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this. This is Tanks and Tuddies. What is good? What is going on? Welcome in if you are listening to this. As you can see, we do not have Tubbs this week. He is apparently sick AF. Of course, right when we do the MLB preview that he didn't want to do in the first place because he doesn't watch baseball. He's not a ball knower. So it is just me. You do get me for this week. I will say we are going to touch on the March Madness first round so far. Before we do a little bit of the MLB preview, I will try and not get too nerdy on you, but I guarantee there will be some nerd facts as we go along the MLB preview. So starting off, we'll do Locks and Longshots, recap on that, and then, like I said, we'll touch on March Madness in the first 2 rounds. Obviously, I had a rough week for March Madness. Wisconsin losing in the first round yet again. Never fails. And then I will go through and do an MLB preview quick of the Brewers, the Tigers, touch on some awards previews, division winners, and then some future bets. So maybe we'll play some more futures during this episode. So starting off, we'll go Locks and Longshots. Jake is 12-11 on his locks. Last week went 3-4. Tried to fill up the board. It did not go too well. He had USA minus 1.5 versus Venezuela for the WBC final. Venezuela did end up winning that, so that was a loss there. He had SMU minus 6.5 versus Miami of Ohio in the first 4 game. Miami, Ohio ended up winning outright, so there was a loss there. He did get on the board with his first win with High Point plus 9.5 versus Wisconsin. They won outright, obviously. Tough for me, but Jake gets the win. He also had St. Louis plus 2.5 versus Georgia. St. Louis mollywopped them. Just absolutely ran away with it. Georgia couldn't do anything to stop St. Louis and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Robbie Avila. Fortunately, they did not make it another round. Sad to see Robbie Avila's playing career come to an end. But Jake also had Hofstra plus 11.5 versus Bama. That was a loss. Iowa minus 2.5 versus Clemson was a win. And then Miami plus 1.5. Missouri plus 1.5 versus Miami. That was a loss. So all in all, 3-4 on the week. For his long shots, he is 5-9 plus 3.925 units. Still open Purdue National Championship at plus 2,500 for 1/4 of a unit. Looking pretty good. Obviously, they won the first 2 rounds. They do play Texas tomorrow, first game of the Sweet 16, with a chance to go to the Final Four. However, if they win that, they have to play the winner of Arizona and Arkansas. Obviously, they will be hoping for Arkansas to make the Final Four. So not a bad look on Purdue there. Last week, Jake had Akron Moneyline versus Texas Tech at plus 270 for 1/2 a unit. That was a loss, bumping him down. And that was all he had for last week. So my locks last week, I am 12-18-1, so losing record right now. Still open Arizona to make the Final Four, minus 120. I love that right now. Arizona looks almost unbeatable. I think they cruise past Arkansas, as you will see here in a second. And I'm not really afraid of Texas or Purdue versus Arizona. So last week, 1-3, bad week again. SMU minus 6.5 versus Miami of Ohio. They also lost. Wisconsin minus 9.5 versus High Point. They lost. North Dakota State plus 16.5 versus Michigan State. That was probably the upset I was not most confident in, but I had the most picks on. I picked North Dakota State in many, many brackets. They just could not keep up with MSU. MSU did what they always do. It should have known better. It is March. It is Izzo's time. MSU rolled. Then I had Iowa Moneyline versus Clemson. That was my one winner last week. So we do get at least one on the board. This week, opening day, technically tonight as I'm recording this on Wednesday night, we do get Giants versus Yankees on Netflix. I don't love what MLB is doing with opening day, splitting it up like this. I've heard a take that I do really like. I feel like MLB should go to a March Madness style opening day where they do like 4 games all in one window. You can get them all on one TV. You can do the multi-view, view 4 games at a time, check in on highlights, and just kind of do that throughout the day. 4 early, 4 middle, 4 late. That'd be 12 games. You wouldn't cover quite all of them. So you would have to do 4 different slates: early, middle, late, late night, or double up somewhere. But I think that would be the best way to do it. Not this one game on the first day for opening day, and then like 5 games the second day of opening day, but half the teams are off, and then 5 games the next day and half the teams are off again. It just doesn't make sense. There's not a real opening day at this point. So anyways, my locks. I'm going Tigers money line minus 131 opening day. They get Skubal on the mound. I like any game when Skubal is pitching. And then they're also going up against the Padres, Nick Pivetta. Not that I don't like the Padres. I am very fond of the Padres. I like them. I like Nick Pivetta. But it's very hard to get to bet against Tarik Skubal. And I think there's a lot of hype around the Tigers right now, not so much around the Padres. I will fully dive into that and take the Tigers money line minus 131. I will also take Rangers Phillies Nerfy on opening day. We are back to Nerfy season. That is no runs first inning. This is minus 125 over on DraftKings. We do get Nate Eovaldi versus Christopher Sanchez, both great pitchers. Have not looked too much into the stats last year of what the Nerfy was like for either of these teams. But early in the season, I like Nerfies. It's cold. You just don't get the hitting environment that you want. Pitchers always seem to kind of be ahead of schedule from the hitters. And I will take a Nerfy with 2 of the aces for these teams pitching opening day. Moving into basketball, I'm going to take Nebraska minus 1.5 versus Iowa. This is minus 112. My biggest thought here is Iowa's coming off the biggest win of their season. They just beat Florida, huge upset, came down to the wire. No bigger time for a letdown than the following game. And Nebraska looks good. I like what Nebraska has done in the tournament. I personally had them losing in the second round to Vandy. Obviously, that did not happen. Probably missed that by about 3 centimeters. I don't know. I like Nebraska here. I don't have a ton of stats on it. I think my data actually has it at Nebraska minus 2.5 or right around that. That's not factoring any emotional side of this with Iowa. So yeah, give me Nebraska minus 1.5. Moving on to the Elite Eight. So my second pick is Arizona first half minus 3.5 versus Arkansas. It's minus 125. Biggest thought on this one is Arizona's defense can stop anybody. I think Arizona controls the pace to start the game. And I think it's going to take Arkansas a bit to adjust to the defense of Arizona. And I'm trying to slow it down. If Arkansas is not hitting their shots, which Arizona defends the 3 very well. If Arkansas cannot hit their shots, Arizona is going to run away in the first half. And it's going to take a lot of adjusting for Arkansas to catch back up in the second half, which I also don't think they do. But I'm just not ready to quite take minus 7.5 in a Sweet 16 game. So long shots, 8-29, down 8.12 units. Yes, you heard that. That is bad. Last week was tough. I was on the wrong side of 2 of these bets. So I had Santa Clara moneyline versus Kentucky. If you didn't watch that game, potentially one of the best games of the tournament so far. Santa Clara hits a 3 to go up by 3. Was it a 3? It was either a 3 or 2. Don't remember. Hits a shot to go up 3. It was definitely a 3. At the end of regulation with like 4 seconds left, something like that. Kentucky inbounds the ball, throws up a half quarter, drills it, banked it in, sends it to overtime. Could have had Santa Clara money line right there. Goes into overtime, Kentucky pulls away, wins by like 6. So we lose there on the plus 136, down a unit there. North Dakota State first half money line versus MSU. They were down by like 20 at half, so that was a loss. That wasn't even a good bet anyways. And then we had Texas A&M first half money line. That did hit at plus 136, so that was nice there. Texas A&M ended up winning outright. And then the other one that I was on the wrong side of. NC State to make the Sweet 16. Obviously, NC State played Texas in the first 4 game. Texas won. I thought NC State had a good path to the Sweet 16 if they won. I was right because Texas is now in the Sweet 16. Texas is in the Sweet 16 after beating BYU in the first round and Gonzaga in the second round. So probably should have taken a look at what Texas's odds were there and just taken both at half a unit instead of just taking NC State. But I guess we move. We'll have to recover this week. Speaking of this week, I'm taking 2 baseball picks and 2 college basketball picks. First one, I have Brewers to start the season at 5-0. They start with 3 games against the White Sox, one of the worst teams in the league, and then move on to 3 games against the Rays. What I like about this is the Brewers pitching staff is not at their strongest. However, I don't think they need to be at their strongest to sweep the White Sox. They are at home for the first 2 series as well, so that is a benefit going into this as well. I think that they can sweep the White Sox. Nothing scares me about the White Sox. I believe the first 3 days, I know Jacob Mizorowski gets opening day against Shane Smith. That does not worry me. I'm pulling up the games right here to see who's going the next 2 days. So first day, Jacob Mizorowski, Shane Smith. Off day on Friday. Come back Saturday. It's Chad Patrick versus Sean Burke. I love Chad Patrick. I love what he's done. I think we can get that one. Sunday is going to be Brandon Sprout versus Anthony Kay. I love what Brandon Sprout has done. He was electric in the spring, nasty in his last start. ESPN actually has this at a 60% chance the Brewers win this game anyways. So I like them to sweep that. Then we move into the next series at home against the Rays. Game 1 is Nick Martinez versus Kyle Harrison. Kyle Harrison has been the story of the spring for the Brewers. Acquired him in the Caleb Durbin to Boston trade. Have kind of turned around Kyle Harrison. He has been striking out everybody and anybody. He looks great. Give me that matchup. We'll take the win on next Monday. And then next Tuesday, we get Brandon Woodruff versus Shane McClanahan. Brandon Woodruff's first start of the season. He's been down a little bit to finish out the spring. I'm not sure if that's him pitching at 100%, being down and being injured, or if that is just, hey, I'm going to preserve myself, get into shape, start the season slow. Either way, I trust Brandon Woodruff. Shane McClanahan, yes, very good pitcher, but I think the offense of the Brewers is much better than the Rays. And like I said, we have home field advantage. So Brewers start 5-0 at plus 1235. Yes, that is correct. Plus 1,235. I have a unit on it. It was boosted on DraftKings a couple days ago. We're just hoping to start 5-0. That would be fun. A lot better start, hopefully, than last season when we went 0-3 and got demolished by the Yankees. Looked like the worst team in history. Obviously ended up all right. My second baseball bet is Tyler O'Neill home run on opening day. This is plus 297. I was over 300 at one point today, and I think everybody's kind of diving into Tyler O'Neill hits a home run every opening day. Let me get in on it. That's exactly why I'm on it. So Tyler O'Neill, let's hit a home run on opening day, plus 297. I will say the Orioles did pull in the fences again, and I don't know. I like it. So moving to basketball. So I have Duke and Arizona to make the Final Four and Houston to make the Elite Eight. This is plus 536. I have a half unit on it. Arizona to make the Final Four. Pretty confident in that one. Houston to make the Elite Eight. All they got to do is beat Illinois. I'm pretty confident in that. I like Houston in that matchup. The one that worries me is Duke to make the Final Four. I do have a hedge here. Duke would have to beat St. John's and then the winner of Michigan State and UConn. I'm not scared of UConn necessarily. MSU kind of scares me for the Duke to make the Final Four. So does St. John's. So I'm going to hedge and take St. John's money line at plus 285 for a unit as well. This way, if Duke doesn't make the Final Four, there's the chance that St. John's does, or at least they beat Duke at plus 285. Either way, we get hopefully a winner out of that. I will say if St. John's loses to Duke, I will probably be betting Michigan State or UConn to win as well. So that is the locks and long shots for this week. Let's move into March Madness recap. I think the easiest way to do this is going to be just going chronological order. I'm not going to touch on every game. We'll touch on the important ones. I'm going to try not to take too much time so that I can do an MLB preview. Starting off first four, Texas beats NC State 68-66. Texas hit the game winner with 1.1 seconds left. Very fun game. Honestly, first four games usually are fun because they are pretty even teams. Not much to say on there. I will say, I think it's Pope from Texas. Very good player. Yeah, Jordan Pope. Very good. Didn't have a great game in the first four game, but he's very fun to watch. So the other game was UMBC and Howard. 16 seeds, did not matter. Then Wednesday, we had Miami, Ohio versus SMU. Miami, Ohio ended up coming out and winning by 10. They shot the lights out. 16 for 41, just throwing up threes left and right. SMU was 5 for 21 for three. That'll do you in when you shoot 24%. Miami, Ohio, I like Miami, Ohio this year. Got to the tournament, saw the matchup, hated it for them. They proved me wrong. I should have just tailed Miami of Ohio. Regardless, Miami, Ohio moved on to the first round. Couldn't do much there. So the other game then was Prairie A&M versus Lehigh. Another 16 seed, did not matter. Thursday, first round, started off interesting, we can say. I will go not chronological order just because I don't remember what games were in what order. So we'll go by seed. Duke Siena. We almost had an upset right off the bat with the number one overall seed almost going down. Duke wins 71-65. This is what has gotten me scared about Duke, and the reason I don't think I picked them in any of my brackets. Duke is good and they have the talent, but they are very young. And I think that is part of the reason that they just are not pulling away in these games. They don't have the experience that many of these teams do. Granted, it's Siena. That should not matter at all. But Siena is a 16. They're getting up. They made the tournament. Whoop. Fun, cool, awesome. They're playing Duke. Duke's going to blow them out. And then they hang around. Siena was up by 11 at half. That alone was a shocker. And my other take, too, that could be a very hot take, I don't think Cameron Boozer is all that great. Yes, he went for 22 and 13 in this game, but I watch him and I'm just not awed. Like, nothing about his game is like, wow, this guy is so good. And maybe that's a hot take. Maybe he's going to be an NBA great. Who knows? Props to him if he is. But there's not anybody on Duke that I look at and I'm like, holy shit, that guy's going to carry them through the tournament. And I don't think that there is a player for Duke that can carry them through the tournament. Also, they are down a couple of guys too. So that is definitely impacting how they've been playing. But, so anyways, Duke ends up winning. Tight game. Was very fun watch. For quite a while, we thought Duke was going to go down in the first round, and we could have had another 16-1 upset. So the other one seed was Michigan. They blew out Howard 101-80. I think the only thing interesting about this game was it was somewhat tight in the first half. Not for a super long time. I mean, I don't think there was ever really a time where I was like, man, Michigan probably not going to win this game. It ended up, I don't even know what it was at half. Let's take a look. at halftime, the game was 50-46 Michigan. So Howard kept it close, but then the second half, Howard didn't score from 9:21 in the second till 4:46 in the second. So they basically went on a 5-minute scoring drought. There were a couple scoring droughts in there for Howard. They never stood a chance. So Michigan moves on, goes to the round of 32. They're the 1 seed. Didn't really expect anything else. Houston, Idaho. Houston blew out Idaho. That game did not matter. MSU versus North Dakota State. Blowout. I was on the wrong side of that. I had NDSU. I thought that they could at least shoot and keep it close. They did not. Illinois, Penn. Illinois runs it up, wins by 35, 105-70. Gonzaga, Kennesaw State. This game got tight. Gonzaga just got back one of their main guys. It did not really change much. They still just did not look that great. They ended up winning by 9. It was kind of back and forth in the end. Gonzaga just barely ended up pulling away. They ended up advancing to the round of 32. As we said, they played Texas. Texas beat them. So I thought Gonzaga was overseeded. I think I was right. So jumping to the 4 seeds that played on Thursday, Nebraska pulls away from Troy. They just could not miss from 3. That's kind of been the story with Nebraska. Troy was a very popular upset. I was all over Nebraska. Glad that they did what they did. Hawaii, Arkansas. This game was just over. Everybody shoot, everybody score. That's pretty much the story of the game. Arkansas could not miss. Arkansas could not be stopped. Put up 54 points in the first half. They ended up winning 97-78. Cool. Vandy McNeese. I was very high in Vandy. I had Vandy in a lot of my Sweet 16s and Elite 8s. And McNeese's defense I knew was good. They definitely kept it close. Vandy only won by 10. I know McNeese was also another upset pick. Not a bad pick. Vandy's offense just too good. Could not be stopped. So Vandy moves on to the round of 32. Louisville, South Florida, another popular upset pick. I was all over Louisville. They ended up only winning by 4. South Florida really pulled back in the second half, put up 52 points in the second half. So Louisville advances. VCU, North Carolina. I was all over VCU. VCU is a popular upset. Ends up going to OT. VCU pulls away in overtime 7-3. They win 82-78, advance to the round of 32. Texas, BYU. I switched on this. My brackets, I had the winner of the Miami-Ohio game. NC State and Texas beating BYU, going to the Sweet 16. Jake and I had said, if Texas wins, we flip, we take BYU. Should have just stuck with it. I think I do this every year. Texas ends up pulling away from AJ DeBansa. Good player. There just wasn't enough supporting him to be able to win this game. So Texas wins 79-71. Very fun game. A&M and St. Mary's. St. Mary's, pardon my take, talked about it. They said never bet on St. Mary's in March Madness. I think I'm going to follow that. They are just always a disappointment when they get to the tournament. Yeah. St. Mary's won by 13. So TCU, Ohio State. This was the first game of the tournament. Also a very fun game. I was on Ohio State. I had said a couple weeks ago, I think TCU is very fun. I should have stuck to that. TCU ends up winning 66-64. Ohio State really brought it back in the second half. It looked like it was going to be a runaway in the first half. TCU could not hold on, barely sneaks out, moves on to the round of 32. And then to end the night, we had St. Louis, Georgia. Did not watch much of this game, but I wish I did. I bet on the over weeks ago. Not weeks ago. As soon as the matchups were announced, I took the over in St. Louis and Georgia. It was like 170 points, something like that. Finished 102-77. Cruised past the over. So Friday. Oh, shit. I forgot. Yep. There was one more game. It was Wisconsin High Point. High Point won 83-82. I should have known. I got emotional. I said, I'm not afraid of High Point. Wisconsin looks better than they have in the past. Our defense, who cares? Nolan Winter's back. The offense can be carried by John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. The offense was carried by John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. The defense could not stop anything, especially in the second half. There were points in the first half where I was like, all right, I'm comfortable with this. We look good. We're pulling away. Just couldn't do it. And I saw a stat after the fact that Wisconsin basically has not made it out of the Sweet Six, has not made it past the round of 32 since 2015, basically, all in Greg Gard's time. Oh, I have the stat here. Greg Gard in March. So this year, obviously, they lost in the round of 64 as a 5 seed. Last year, they lost in the round of 32 as a 3 seed. The year before, they lost in the round of 64 as a 5 seed. 2023, they missed the tournament. 2022, lost in the round of 32 as a 3 seed. 2021, lost in the round of 32 as a 9 seed. 2020 was canceled. 2019, they lost in the round of 64 as a 5 seed. 2018, they missed. And 2017, they lost in the Sweet 16 as an 8 seed. So looking at that, all but one season, 2021 as a 9 seed, they were probably favorites in their first 2 games and lost all of them. So I personally think it's time to get Greg Gard out. Just saying. Also, the last 3 times that Wisconsin's played a 12 seed, they lost. This year, they lost to High Point. Last 2024, they lost to JMU 61-72 in the first round. And then in 2019, they lost to number 12 Oregon 54-72. 0-3 as a 5 seed against a 12. So should have seen it coming. I got my hopes up too far. I never again will get my hopes up with Wisconsin until we actually win a Sweet 16 game. I think until then, I'll just expect them to lose in the first 2 rounds. So, yeah, tough. High Point, very fun team. Chase Johnson, I think is his name. Guy hadn't made a 2-pointer all year. He's 0 for 4 from 2, but shooting like 48% from 3. Ends up making the game-winning 2-pointer on a block shot. So, which also, another point, Nolan Winter's back this game, and I don't know why we did not use him. He did not play full minutes. I understand that. But when we played it down low and kicked it into the post with Nolan Winter, Rapp, any of the bigs, they made it look so easy. And instead, we just relied on what we've been doing all year and said, hey, let's just jack up threes against a team that also jacks up threes. How about you fucking get the ball down low where it's been easy, score some points, and then maybe play a lick of defense? Just my point. So, Friday then, moved on, forgot about Wisconsin, just completely put it in the back of our minds. Real quick, Arizona destroyed Long Island. Florida destroyed Prairie View A&M. Iowa State destroyed Tennessee State. Purdue destroyed Queens. The first time it got interesting was UConn Furman. UConn won by 11, but it was tight most of the game. Furman, very good 3-point team. UConn, I love Dan Hurley, but this team is just not the same as what it's been. And I thought they were going to be a lot better. Granted, I mean, we took him in our bracket, but outside of our shared bracket, I really did not touch UConn or did not take them that far. I just don't think they're the same team as what they were the last couple of years. So UConn advanced to the second round. Not really impressive. The next game was Virginia, Wright State. Wright State put up a fight. I was very high on Virginia too, but something about that slow pace that just does not play well in the tournament. And they ended up sneaking out past Wright State. They pulled away in the second half, but they were down 43-38 in the first half. So 82-73, they advance. Fun game. Not what I liked for my bracket, but Alabama, Hofstra, Alabama just put up points. That's all they do. They won 90-70. Kansas, Cal Baptist, another upset popular pick. Kansas was blowing them out in the first half. Just did not look like it stood a chance. 38-18 at half. Kansas is up by 20. Cal Baptist came roaring back. Who was the player for Cal Baptist? Very fun. Dominique Daniels. He is awesome. 25 points. Just took over control of the game to end. At the end, unfortunately, it wasn't enough. They just could not dig out of the deficit that they built themselves in the first half. Kansas escaped 68-60, moves on to the second round. So Texas Tech rolled past Akron 91-71, really pulled away in the second half. I will say underdogs were the king of the first half. It seems like there were a lot of close first half games. So St. John's, Northern Iowa. St. John's rolled 79-53. Tennessee, Miami of Ohio. I did think this game was going to be closer than it was. I did not have high hopes for Tennessee, even though I am a Tennessee fan. Just too many losing streaks throughout the year. Could not get hot. Didn't really trust them. They rolled 78-56. Defense was very good. Just kind of stopped whatever Miami wanted to do. So Kentucky, Santa Clara, already talked about this. Overtime winner for Kentucky after hitting the half quarter to send it to overtime. Tough loss there. It was all over Santa Clara. UCF, UCLA. UCLA was up fairly big. They kind of let UCF crawl back in. UCLA pulls away, or does not pull away. UCLA advances 75-71. Miami versus Missouri. I was all over Miami. They won 80-66. Pretty easy there. Utah State, Nova. I was all over Utah State. Won 86-76. And then Iowa, Clemson. I was all over Iowa. I thought that they were going to pull away. They just never really did. They won 67-71. Advanced to Sunday. Second round. We're going to fly through these. Michigan takes down St. Louis 95-72. Was tight in the first half for a little bit there. St. Louis just couldn't stop Michigan. Duke, TCU. Duke kind of rolled in this one. There wasn't really anything that was nerve-wracking for Duke here, other than they couldn't pull away in the first half, but it was the first half. Houston bullied Texas A&M 88-57. Houston looks like they could very easily go to the championship. So Michigan State, Louisville. I thought there was a chance Louisville could maybe take them down. As you can tell, I'm low on MSU, but MSU rolled 77-69. Texas takes down Gonzaga. Kind of already talked about that one. VCU, Illinois. Illinois rolled, won by 21. Nebraska, Vandy, the heartbreaker of the tournament. This actually might have been the tournament game so far. Vandy puts up a half-court three from 49 feet at the buzzer, and it goes in and out for the potential win. Very fun game as well. Tough beat for Vandy. Nebraska moves on. Arkansas takes down High Point. Really no struggles. Another just very high-scoring game. Darius Acuff, so fun. But yeah, this was a three-point fest in this game. Just running up and down the court, back and forth. So, and then Sunday, the big game was Iowa taking down Florida. Comes up at the buzzer. They're up at half. Second half was back and forth, back and forth. Biggest upset of the tournament so far. Yeah. I was going to say maybe High Point over Wisconsin was bigger, but it was not. So Iowa takes down Florida, moves on. They will get Nebraska in the Sweet 16. I did pick Iowa over Florida in a couple of my brackets, so I am proud to say that I did see that coming. So Arizona kind of handled Utah State. Wasn't really any questions in that one. Purdue handled Miami. Braden Smith just put the team on his back, as he does. Breaks the NCAA record for assists in a career with like 1,000 and some odd assists. cool to see. So Iowa State rolls Kentucky, just runs away in the second half. Iowa State, if it's Iowa State, Michigan in the Elite Eight, very fun game. UCLA, UConn. I thought UCLA could keep it closer. They did not. 73-57, UConn advances. Tennessee, my Vols, take down Virginia, 79-72. Not much to say on this one. St. John's, Kansas. St. John's with the buzzer beater to win. Takes down Kansas 67-65. I like St. John's. I really do. I think that they could take down Duke. That will be a fun game. And then the last one was Alabama, Texas Tech. Alabama rolls. I think Alabama does have a shot to potentially take down Michigan just with how they shoot. So if Michigan can't stop them, we will get a high scoring potential upset. If Michigan learns how to stop Bama, it's over for Bama. So quick preview, Texas, Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska, Arkansas, Arizona, Illinois, Houston on Thursday. And then Friday we have St. John's, Duke, Alabama, Michigan, MSU and UConn, Tennessee and Iowa State. I don't love many of the dogs. I think Texas could keep it close. Friday, I mean, St. John's. I like St. John's. I just talked about Bama. I could see MSU taking down UConn. It's only 1.5 points right now. I don't like the matchup for Tennessee against Iowa State. So we will see how that goes. 36 minutes. Wow. We are 36 minutes of me talking to myself about college basketball. Did not see that coming. Overall, I will say there hasn't been a ton of upsets. Kind of like last year, I think NIL has kind of reduced that a little bit. But I won't complain about the tournament. I think it's been very entertaining so far. It's kind of weird to be like, yeah, the Cinderella is Texas, like an SEC school as a Cinderella. Kind of weird. I would have loved to, not that I would have loved High Point to be the Cinderella, but somebody like, I don't know, VCU, like a smaller school, smaller conference school, Wright State. Santa Clara is not really a smaller conference. I guess it's the WCC, but I don't know. I'm not complaining about it. There was still a number of upsets that were fun. It's just not the same level of tournament that we've had, say, 5 years ago. So, all right, let me send a text real quick, and then we'll get into MLB preview. All right, MLB preview. Real quick. Obviously, don't have Jake, so I will try and do as much of my Tigers preview as I can. We'll start with the Tigers, actually. They didn't do a ton this offseason. They did bring in Justin Verlander. I'm not sure what that actually is other than a reunion tour before he retires. I don't think he's actually going to help that much. They did lose Reese Olson for the year, shoulder surgery. And then the biggest news was that they are promoting Kevin McGonigal, who had an insane spring. He's the number 2 prospect overall, I think, right behind Connor Griffin. He looks like he's going to be awesome. Going to be the everyday starting shortstop. But outside of that, like Framber Valdez, they did bring in Framber. Forgot about that. The other biggest news was just the whole contract issue with Tarek Skubal and how they handled that. And I don't think that the Tigers will get to a point where they sell, but if they do, I think there's a very high chance that Skubal is traded. So I would keep an eye on that and how the Tigers do. But I do think that they will be a playoff team. I think that they will potentially win the division. I don't know if they will for sure. I don't think it's like runaway Tigers are winning the AL Central. I'll kind of preview that in a bit. But I think the Tigers will probably be a 85-90 win team. I'm actually going to see what their wins future is right now. And like if you look at the World Series odds, Tigers come out at plus 2,000. It's actually behind like teams like the Braves and the Red Sox, which I don't necessarily know if they should be behind the Braves. The Braves are just injury prone at this point. But plus 2,000, I mean, it's worth a sprinkle if you're a homer. I don't know if I'd personally take it. Tigers over under 85.5 wins. Pretty good for me right there. I don't know if I'd touch either over or under. Not a lot of question marks, but I think the rotation has some questions. What even is their rotation to start the year? Let's go take a look. Tigers schedule. So it is Skubal, Valdez, Flaherty, Verlander, Mize. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. Verlander's definitely the weakest link. Flaherty, up and down. It really depends on how he ends up doing. Mize had a good year last year. I think he takes a step back, though. So 85.5, I'd probably put him right on that line. 86 wins, 87 maybe. So that's my quick Tigers preview. If Jake wants to add more next week, he can. That's all I got. Brewers preview. I'll keep this one short, too. They didn't do shit this offseason. I think their biggest signing was a trade. That was pretty much their biggest acquisition, was the Caleb Durbin trade, getting Kyle Harrison. Freddie Peralta was also the big trade, too. I think they traded away more than they got back, but I like the pieces that they got back. Brandon Sproat, going to be in the rotation. We have a ton of pitchers, so I think we're going to end up seeing a ton of different guys start games, which I don't hate. I mean, it keeps guys healthy going into the postseason, which we've tended to have trouble with over the last couple of years. I think my biggest thing is I just don't want to see them take a step back because their window is here and they've started to really, I don't want to say they bought into the window. It seems like they just keep trying to get younger, and it's maybe preparing for a lockout in 2027, hoping, you know what, if we can get rid of some of these aging veterans outside of Brandon Woodruff, we can have a young enough team that if there is a lockout and we come back in 2028, we're not an old team that then needs to rebuild. We're set. We have our core at a good age. So maybe that's their thinking. I don't really know. But I'm looking forward to Brandon Sproat. I'm looking forward to Kyle Harrison, Jet Williams when he comes up. I don't think we see Jesus Madier this year or Luis Pena. I think that they're probably going to max out at AAA this year, and then we'll see him in 2028 after the lockout. But I think that the Brewers, their win total is set at 84.5. I like their over. They always seem to overperform. They always seem to get pitchers and turn them around. Quinn Priester is a prime example of that. He's actually starting on the IL this year with some wrist thoracic outlet syndrome stuff, which I don't love to see. But hence why we went out and got as many pitchers as we have. Jacob Mizorowski, I'm looking forward to him taking a step forward. And I think my biggest thing I'd like to see is Garrett Mitchell stay healthy and put together a full season. I think he has the tools. Everybody's down on him. I've always been very high on Garrett Mitchell. Everybody thinks he's a bust. To this point, yes, he has been a bust. But I think he has the potentials to be like a 20 homer, 30, 40 steal guy if he can just stay healthy. So be an everyday center fielder. I don't love our bats right now. We didn't make any additions there. Luis Rengifo, maybe a good fit. Hopefully we can turn around like we did Andrew Vaughn. He's had good seasons in the past, but he's aging. So I don't know. I don't love that has to be our starting third baseman. I'm hoping it's just a fill-in until Jet Williams is good to go, but we'll see. So let's do awards preview real quick. I'll give off Jake's. He did not give really any reasoning for this. Like I said, he stated that he is sick. I don't know if it's actually sick or if it's just he didn't want to do an MLB preview. But Jake's MLB awards preview is starting with the MVP. AL, he's taking Bobby Witt Jr. In the NL, he's taking Shohei, shocker. which I don't wrong him for that. I feel like you have to take Shohei until something happens. And this year we're going to get a full version of Shohei pitching and hitting. So I think the odds of him winning the MVP are very high. Cy Young, he's also going chalk. AL, he's going Scooble. Figures. NL, he's taking Skeens. Tough not to. And then Rookie of the Year was the last one that we have. Rookie of the Year, he's taking Trey Savage in the AL. Obviously, he does not know that Trey Savage is starting on the IL and going to be on a innings limit this year. So Trey Savage is his pick for the AL. I think that's a bad pick. I'm surprised he did not take his own Kevin McGonigal. That would have been what I would have thought he was going to take. And then in the NL, he's taking Bubba Chandler, not the chalk of. He's not taking the chalk pirate in Connor Griffin. He's taking Bubba Chandler. So interesting pick. I don't hate it. I think he's got a lot of work to do to get to an NL Rookie of the Year, but I think it could happen. My picks. AL MVP. I mean, I think the obvious pick is definitely Judge. However, I think if there's one that I would like to keep an eye on, it would be Roman Anthony. I do like his Bobby Witt pick, I will say. I think if the fences being pulled in Kansas City can lead to Bobby getting to 25, 30 home runs, and he stays on the steals pace of 30, if he could be a 30-30 guy, plus he's great at defense, he has the 5 tools. I do like that pick. I think Bobby Witt at plus 500 on DraftKings is a good pick. I think my pick, I'm going to take Roman Anthony. He's got all of the tools. He's been very fun. I think the Red Sox will be a very good team. I think plus 1,400 is probably fair odds for this. I don't think, obviously, he's a favorite or anything. I just like the tools that he has. He's a 5-tool guy. I think I could see him being a 30-30 guy as well this year on a winning team. Would be crazy to see a guy who's just barely starting his second year win the MVP. I would say sleeper, Junior Caminero, plus 2,000. If the Rays can be good, it is because of Junior Caminero. So, all right, my NL MVP pick, I think I'm going to take Shohei. Shohei feels like the obvious choice, like I said. You get the full version of Shohei this year. When he was pitching last year, was very good. We know what he does as a hitter. Just give me Shohei. So, Cy Young. AL, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I do really like Kyle Bradish at plus 3,000. I worry about his health, so I'm not going to take that. I do like Trevor Rogers. I do worry about any regression there, so I'm not going to take that. Scooble is obviously the favorite. Not that he's going to take a step back, but I think with the potential trade contract talks, there may be some other outside factors that could be playing in this season. So I think I'm going to avoid chalk here. And with that, I'm actually going to go to another Tiger, and I'm going to take Framber. I think the park is going to play better for Framber than when he was in Houston. We've already seen Framber be dominant. I don't think the team around him is as dominant, but I think the stadium alone will be enough, plus working with Scooble. There's just a lot of factors that I really like Framber this year, and I think at plus 2,200 on DraftKings, Framber might be one of the better values on here. So, and then NL, I actually do have a future out on this. I took I took Yuri Perez at plus 3,500. I think if he stays healthy, we've seen what Yuri Perez can do. He's been a high-end prospect for a really long time. He was really good when he was healthy last year. I think if he takes a step forward, he could easily be the best pitcher in the league, right behind Skubal and Skeens. So I will say I do also like Nolan McLean, but I think the Mets have a lot of pitching options that there's potential that his innings kind of get limited, also with him not having a full year under his belt. Same with Jacob Mizrowski. I like him, obviously homer pick, but I don't think that he will get enough innings to win Cy Young. So, Rookie of the Year, AL Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go with Kazuma Okamoto for the Blue Jays. I like what he has done in the spring. He has been lighting it up. He plays for a very good team. He's going to hit in the heart of the order on a great team. Give me Kazuma Okamoto. I will say I do think Kevin McGonigal should easily be the favorite. He is the favorite right now. I think he could run away with it. NL, Nolan McLean is actually the favorite. I thought Connor Griffin was the favorite. That is probably because Connor Griffin is starting in the minors. So, give me JJ Weatherholt. JJ Weatherholt, great hitter. He's going to be an everyday guy playing for the Cardinals. The Cardinals are not going to be a good team. I like JJ Weatherholt at plus 500. He's a 5-tool kind of guy. He can hit not so much power. He can steal bases, so I like that. All right, and then we'll look at World Series matchup. Jake is going to take Tigers versus Dodgers with the Tigers winning. So obviously Jake's AL Central winner. He's going to take the Tigers. I personally think the Royals win the AL Central. So let me just go through division winners here. AL East. I like the Yankees, but that feels so chalky. I do say the Orioles at plus 425 is sneaky. I don't think that they win the division, but I think that they could make the playoffs as a wild card. Red Sox just didn't do enough to impress me, although the young three, the young core, Roman Anthony there, I do like that. What if the Blue Jays just do it again? Give me the Blue Jays. No, you know what? I'm going to take chalk. I'm going to take Yankees in the East. Yeah, I mean, they should win it. They just should win it. Once Garrett Cole's healthy, their pitching staff is going to be great. Hitting is all around the field pretty good outside of Anthony Volpe, who's injured right now. But they do have George Lombard Jr. Yeah, I like the Yankees to win that. So AL Central, like I said, Jake's going to take the Tigers. I would take the Royals here. If Jack Caglione can have a year, I'm very high on Jack Caglione. Vinny P, Bobby Witt, Jack Caglione, Carter Jensen, Salvador Perez. Pitching staff looks good. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Royals as my AL Central winner. Second favorite right now, plus 225. I like it. AL West. Mariners are the favorite. Astros right behind. I do not want to take the Astros. I think the Rangers at plus 340 could compete. I don't know if it's enough. The additions they made this year. I think I got to go chalk in the AL West too and say Mariners. Their pitching staff is just so good. They didn't really add too much, though. Rangers did make a lot of additions. No, I'm going to take the Mariners. NL East, another one. The chalk says take the Mets. They just made so many additions. Phillies made a couple additions, nothing that big. The Braves, I absolutely will not be touching the Braves at plus 250. They're the third highest odds here. The Braves are so injured. They lost Jurickson Profar to steroids. I think that Ronald Acuna could be in the MVP conversation again, but I'm not going to bet on the Braves to win the division. Maybe make the playoffs, but that division is so insane. The thing that gets me with the Mets and the Phillies is I would love to take the Mets, but the Mets are always going to be the Mets. And at some point, they'll fall apart like they always do. I also already have 2 chalk picks in here with the Yankees and Mariners. What if we just... Let's skip the... We'll come back to that. The NL West, we're going Dodgers. Dodgers aren't going to lose the West. They just won't do it. The NL Central, I will say, I obviously would love to take the Brewers. They are the second favorite. The Cubs do look like they'll be very good. Do I trust Craig Counsell? Not a fucking chance. I do think the Reds could compete. I don't think they will win the Central. They're just not quite there. I do think the Pirates could compete. They are not quite there. Central, I'm going to take the Brewers just with my homer pick. So that leaves us 3 favorites so far and 2 second places. Just go 3-3. Let's take the Phillies in the NL East. So my winners, Yankees, Royals, Mariners, Phillies, Brewers, Dodgers. Obviously, I think the Dodgers probably get the 1 seed in the NL. I think the Yankees probably finish with the AL 1 seed. So quick futures bets. I have a couple out so far and then a couple that I want to touch on. I have a parlay, Tyler Soderstrom, 25 plus home runs. Pete Alonso, 40 plus home runs. Shohei, 50 plus home runs. That is 853. I like that. I already talked about Yuri Perez to win the Cy Young at plus 4,500 when I grabbed it. It's now down to 3,500. I like the Brewers over 84.5 wins. The other one that I did want to look at is the season leaders props. I have ran a ton of baseball stats. This is where I'm going to get nerdy. Ton of baseball stats. I'll share it here real quick. Basically went through, pulled every hitter, their last 3-year stats. There's a ton of pages here you can see. Every player, last 3 years, bunch of different stats. Went through and hitter projections. Got their baseline for the last 3 years. Regressed it to the league average, adjusted it for their age, and then projected it out for the year. Did go into a season leaders tab. As you can see, I have projected leaders for hits, RBIs, home runs, stolen bases, average, and OPS. Not shocker, Judge, Shohei up at the top there for OPS. Same with home runs, Shohei and Judge at the top. The one thing that I do really want to take a look at is this right here. So if you go to league leaders and look at stolen bases, Elly De La Cruz is the favorite at plus 300. If I said, who do you think is right behind him? You'd probably say, well, it's got to be PCA, right? Nope, it's Chandler Simpson, plus 400. Okay, that makes sense. The guy steals a lot of bases. Thing that worries me about Chandler Simpson, might not be an everyday guy. Can't steal bases if you're not an everyday guy. Next up, Corbin Carroll. Great, he's third on my list at 35 stolen bases, almost 36. It's plus 700. Pretty good pick. Just broke his hamate. What if he doesn't steal as many bases because there? What if he's not getting on base because of the hamate? There's risk there. Don't love that. Bobby Witt, fourth. He's fourth on my list. 35 stolen bases, right with Corbin Carroll. He's plus 700 as well. I think that's perfect. No issues with Bobby Witt. I think he could also be in the lead, but I don't think he's going to steal at the same level as Ellie. Victor Scott, plus 900. Probably, yeah, he's 23rd on my list just due to not an everyday player. I mean, if he takes a step through, sure. Jacob Marcy, he's also on my list here. He's got it further down, I think. Jacob Marcy, 40th, right there. Don't love it. Plays for the Marlins. We'll see. At this point, you're like, all right, we're 6 down the list. Where's PCA? What if I told you PCA was plus 1,800 to lead the league in stolen bases? You see the gap that I have there. I've got him at 60. Next closest is Ellie at 44. I get that could be a little high. So I did some math. Pull the calculator over here real quick. Let's go look at PCA's 2026 projected stats real quick. So PCA is projected for 644 plate appearances, 582 at-bats, on base of 275. So let's take his plate appearances here. Say he's got 650 at-bats. Gets on base at a 275 clip. That gives him 178.75 chances that he's on base. Stolen base attempt is projected to be around 51%. Let's knock that down and say he steals 40%. So we'll take his 178.75 times on base. Whoops, 178. Whoa. 178.75 times 40% means he attempts 71 stolen bases. Okay. If this 76% is his success rate, let's say he's successful on 70%. So let's take his 71.5 attempts. 71.5 times 70% success rate. That leaves him at 50 stolen bases. Pretty good. 50 stolen bases. So let's see, okay. Where's Ellie at on here? Ellie. Am I missing this? Ellie De La Cruz right here. 672 at-bats. Or 672 plate appearances, 587 at-bats. 323 on-base percentage. Makes sense. Higher walk rate. Stolen base at 25% almost. Successful in 83. Okay, so let's even that out a little. Let's say he gets 680 at-bats. Multiply that by, we'll say he goes up to 30% stolen base. Oh. 680 at-bats times 30%. It's 204. Oh, wait, sorry. 680 at-bats times a 323 on-base percentage. 219.64 times on base. Steals at a 30% clip. 66 attempts. If he is successful on 80% of those, 65 attempts, 66 attempts, 80%, 52.8 stolen bases. PCA was at 50. Ellie's at 52.8. There's no reason that Ellie should be plus 300 and PCA should be plus 1,800. So that's the one that I'm looking at. I would like to take PCA. Probably will. I actually, you know what? I'm going to do it right now. PCA to lead the league, stolen bases. And listen, I'm a Brewers fan. I hate the Cubs. PCA to lead the league in stolen bases at plus 1,800 off of just getting a massive contract this week. 10 for 190. We'll do it. Just placed it. Let me write that down. Beauty. I think that is all I have for futures. My World Series pick. Let me write Jake's down here. Jake is taking Tigers versus Dodgers. Tigers win. He's huge on Kevin McGonigal, as you can tell. If that had to be odds, Tigers to win it, plus 2,000. It's the exact forecast. Tigers to beat the Dodgers. Plus 8,000. All right, not bad. I'm gonna go chalk. There's going to be a lockout, so why not let the Dodgers three-peat? We'll say the Dodgers take down. Dodgers take down the Royals. Give me the Dodgers over the Royals. Plus 5,000. Yeah. I like that. Dodgers versus Royals. That would be a fun World Series. Forced lockout. Yep. Dodgers win, forced lockout. Plus 5,000. Three-peat on the way. So, all right. That's all I got. So, hope you guys enjoyed an hour and 6 minutes of me talking to myself. Hopefully Jake is back next week. We can talk about the Elite Eight, preview the Final Four, first week of baseball. Hopefully the Brewers go 5-0, and I cash that plus 12,000 ticket. But yeah, that's it. Let's adore some tanks. Let's hit some tutties. Baseball season is back. And with that, I say peace.